Good morning, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. So we are thankful yet again as we continue to say for another opportunity. It is truly a blessing and an honor to stand up here, kind of getting over some sickness. I know sickness is going through where we are and probably where everybody else is, because I've heard of other people being sick. So just pray one for another, especially during these transitions, because it's cold, it's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold, hot, and everybody's getting sick. So we're going to go ahead and start this morning. If you would, let us stand and turn to Psalms 51. So I think we all like Psalms 51. I really like Psalms 51. As a teacher, preacher, too often we get concerned of, well, they just keep hearing the same thing. Well, you know what? There's nothing new about what's written in this book. So you're going to hear about it one way or the other over and again, and you'll hear about it continuing. So Psalms 51, that's nothing to worry about. Psalms 51 and verse 7, we'll start there. Cleanse me with hyssop, and I am clean. Wash me, and I am whiter than snow. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones you have crushed rejoice. Hide your face from my sins, and blot out all my wickedness. Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Ruach HaKodesh from me. Restore to me the joy of your deliverance, and uphold me, noble Ruach. Let's lift up our eyes. Hashem, Adonai, Elohim, Most High, Elyon, thank you for this day that you've given us. Thank you for your love. Just lead, guide, and direct us. Thank you for how you continue to have mercy on us, and thank you for how you got us in the truth. We do have a longing and a desire to be devoted to you and to know you greater and to uncover the truth and to know what is real. We pray over this people. We'd all have one mind, one heart, one accord, and we would come and we would want to know who you are and to know you better and have a better personal relationship with you in our daily walk. We do pray over this message. You would bless your people. May we come to a reality that is true and continue to dig. You are Elohim. We are your people. Bless this people. May this message be clear, easy to understand, easy to apply, that we can walk away and say that you have met with us and blessed us. Lead, guide, and direct. We lift you up on high. Baruch Hashem, hallelujah. Amen. Just honest prayer. It's just honest prayer. I know we want truth. I know we want to know God. And I think that's a good place to start. So, talking about that. So Psalms 51. Psalms 51 and verse 7. Cleanse me with hyssop, and I am clean. Wash me, and I am whiter than snow. The clearing, the cleaning, the washing. Wash me, and I will be clean. Purify me. What is this a psalm in accordance to? What is he talking about? This is what happened after Bathsheba, right? He goes into Bathsheba. We say that often. Goes into Bathsheba, takes Bathsheba, lays with Bathsheba. They have a child. He kills Uriah. There's a lot of stuff going on there, right? Don't have to continue to repeat that. So he had an idea. He had an idea to take Bathsheba. He had an idea to kill Uriah. He had an idea to cover it all up, and he thought it was okay, right? So what he is saying here is cleanse me, clean me from the way I used to think, and the way I used to be, and the way I used to act. Okay? So he says, cleanse me with hyssop, and I am clean. Wash me, and I am whiter than snow. Now, the word cleanse is the same word for sin. Or the word cleanse, purge me here, if you look in the King James Version. Atah. It's the same word for sin. So the sin is also a purging. Okay? Because they are one. The thing is, you've got to recognize, be honest, and we'll talk about being humble later. You got to be honest, you got to be humble enough to say, I did that. And I did wrong. Okay? And in order to do that, you have to sin in order to see the cleansing. Right? If you can't be humble enough to say I did wrong, there will be no cleansing. So it's all one. Cleanse me with hyssop, and I am clean. Wash me, and I am whiter than snow. So he's talking about clear me. Cleanse me. I want to be renewed. Right? Let me hear the joy and gladness. Let the bones you have crushed rejoice. So there has to be a crushing in order for there to be a rebuilding. Right? You have to be made low in order to be lifted. Hide your face from my sins and blot out my wickedness. Create in me a clean heart. So that create is to form, fashion in me a clean, tahar, a clean heart. That is bright, pure, sound, clear, clean, purify. Purify. Now, let's think about sin for a second, right? Sin creates death. You see that from the beginning. If you eat of this tree in disobedience, surely you will die, okay? Sin does not create life. It creates death. It creates discord. Sin, death, discord, confusion, pollution, right? Sin creates pollution. Look how sin with Bathsheba created pollution, right? It created discord. Our sin has created discord in the world. We had talked about before. You have the beginning and you have the disobedience of Adam and how that created discord in the earth, right? We are all wanting to get back to the garden. So our sin has created discord. We are wanting everything to be back in harmony. That is what David is praying for. I have created chaos. I have created calamity. Can we please just bring everything back into harmony? Everybody has a job. Everybody has a duty. And everybody has a role. And you are fulfilling that role based on the prior sins, the prior discord that you have created to bring the world back into harmony. Okay? And you think about the sin of David, and he counted his people, and God said, don't do that. And then after that, he gave him an option. He said, do you want to do this, or you want to do this? So there has to be a way to bring back harmony to the world, because us going out of the way has created chaos. That's what sin is. Okay? That's another way to explain it. So sin has created death. It has created discord, confusion, pollution. Look at how the sin of Bathsheba created pollution, discord. We are trying to get everything, and that's what David is praying for, back into harmony. So, as we said, he had an idea. He thought it was okay. I'll take Bathsheba. I'll sleep with her. Everything's going to be fine. Then they have a baby. Things don't go as planned. And then he has to try to cover it up. He has another idea. And then he tries to get Uriah to sleep with Bathsheba. And he doesn't do it. And then he has another idea. Let's send him to the heat of battle. Let's kill him. So, right? He has these ideas, a certain way of thinking that he thinks is okay. So, think of all the ideas, the thoughts and experience you have collected, you have accumulated over your life, right? You have accumulated a lot of thoughts. And I want to say one thing when it comes to religion and it comes to being brought up in Christianity. You're taught what you know by your parents. You're taught what you know by your parents. And it came as a passing down. Their parents taught them, and their parents taught them, and their parents taught them. And it comes down on a timeline. So you have learned something from your parents, and you passed it down to your children. Okay? So there are accumulated ideas, accumulated thoughts, and experiences that we have collected. Okay? And they've been passed down. Now, we all need to be cleansed. We all need to be cleaned. So when he says this, he says, clean or create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, renew a steadfast spirit within me. So heart is love. It is feelings. Create in me a center, a place I can go to that is whole, cleansed. Okay? He had bad desires, right? He wanted to fulfill those bad desires. And he's saying, help me to wipe that out. Okay? So, feeling, center, heart, emotion, desire. What is the heart known for? Love. Love. Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. So, steadfast is kun. It is to prepare, to be ready, direct towards, Everybody knows spirit. It is ruach, wind, breath, mind, spirit, disposition. And then the new, a new spirit within me, rebuild, create, renew. That is kadosh. Rebuild within me, renew within me, repair. What is he requesting? Concerning the heart, he says, create in me a pure emotion, a pure feeling, a pure desire. Create in me a clear center. Okay? If your heart is not right, you're not thinking straight. Right? So he says, create in me a clear center. I want pure love. What does he say? You and you only have I sinned against. So where's his devotion? His devotion is to God. And that's the root of it all. Your devotion is to God. Therefore, you want to be devoted to God. That desire is to be devoted to God and not to be devoted to self or this idea of what you think that you are. And we'll talk more about that. So, create in me a clear center. Create in me pure love. Rebuild a prepared disposition. Repair a ready mind. So it's the heart and it's the mind, right? These are the two that we're trying to work with. So I mentioned a few weeks ago, and I mentioned it over and over, that I don't see a clear distinction of what the mind is in Scripture. But your heart is your emotion, is your love, and your spirit is your mind, okay? And the reason that we say that is because all day long, there are all kinds of thoughts that are going through your head, okay? And it is just like a wind. It is just like a spirit. It is continually flowing, right? So it's just like a wind. Some things you can listen to, some things you shouldn't listen to. Some people are holding on to different doctrine, and we'll talk about that also, different doctrine that has been taught to them that they think is true, okay? It's a wind of doctrine is what that is. So, and that's what it says in the New Testament, but it ekes me. It ekes me to think that. So, but you got to think. Everybody's listening to something. Everybody's listening to something. And the difference between what you know and what is true is what you believe. What you believe is what gives what you know strength. That's the bottom line. If you don't believe it, it has no strength. Think about how you've transitioned from this religion to that religion and what you used to know and how it has no more bearing on you. You know why? Because you no longer believe in it. So what you believe is what gives strength to what you know. So if you don't believe it, it has no strength. So rebuild a prepared disposition. Repair a ready mind. We're going to say this over and over and over and over. Who wants to hear from God? I do. In order to do that, you must clear your mind and open your heart. I love that. Rebuild a prepared disposition. A disposition is the quality of mind and character. I want to have a prepared, a ready mind. Your mind can't be ready if it's cluttered. Your mind can't be ready if you're continually distracted. Right? So it must be cleared. If you can separate yourself, the person that you truly are, if you can separate yourself from what you're thinking, you realize that you are not those thoughts. It's just thinking. The true person is behind that. There's a teaching out there and it says God is the breath behind the breath. He is all. He is everything. There is a person that is in you, and that is self. But this body and everything that is involved with it, we associate with it. We think this is me. You look in the mirror and you say, I am Josh Brown. You probably don't say that. But I do. But that's not who I am. That's not who I am. There is something that connects us all. Too often we identify with our ego and we don't identify with our soul, which is the thing that brings us all together. And we want to change this outward appearance. We want to make this look pretty. And this is not who you are. You know, some of the most beautiful people on the outside have the most ugliest souls. Most ugly souls. They're just not good people. So, I want to have a ready mind. I want my character to be prepared. And I want pure emotion. I want pure love. Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Ruach HaKodesh from me, your set-apart spirit. It is the teaching of God that sets you apart, okay? It's not a separateness, it should be a unity. It should be a unity, and too often we have been taught because ego wants to be separate. Ego wants to be separate. Ego wants to be different. Ego strives on that. Ego strives on own righteousness. But soul feeds on God. So, everybody wants to be different. Everybody wants to be different. Everybody wants to be something. Everybody wants to feel like there's something. And I think about that, and there was a really good teaching that I heard this week, is we do so much to please everybody. We do so much to be accepted that we don't even know who we are. And there's a really good teaching out there about the suit. And the guy goes and he tries to get this suit made for him. And I can't remember what the guy's name was. We'll just say that his name was John. He goes in there and he gets a suit. And he tries on the suit and he's like, man, this suit feels awesome. This suit feels really good. But my arm is a little bit long on this side. And he goes, well, just kind of cock yourself this way, and then you'll realize that it fits just right, okay? And then he goes, well, now that I'm doing this, of course, the suit kind of fits well, but there's a gap up here, okay? And he says, well, since there's a gap up there, put your chin down and go this way. And he goes, okay, it fits perfectly. And he goes, okay. And then he pays for the suit, and he goes out, and he's walking towards the bus. And somebody stops him, and he goes, man, that suit fits perfect. And he goes, John must have made that suit for you. And he goes, well, how do you know? Because only John can make suits for crippled people. So, you have to think, are you trying to fit yourself in a suit to please everybody? And sometimes when you're wearing that suit, it's uncomfortable. Because you're trying to get everybody's attention and you just want to be accepted. It's rough. So, the people that love you for who you are and everything you are. And you don't have to be anything for them. And you don't have to prove anything to them. And I want to tell you, there is no more freedom than understanding that someone knows all about you and still loves you. So, continuing on. He says, restore to me, verse 12, the joy of your deliverance, uphold me, noble Ruach. So that word noble is nadiba. It is a free spirit. It is a willing spirit, a free spirit, voluntary, not obligated. I look up the word noble, because noble is written here in the TS 2009. Noble is written here. And the description for noble, the definition is a fine personal quality. It is high moral principles, high moral ideals. Okay? The noble disposition, the noble mind, the noble character. Okay? He says, uphold me, noble character. Fine personal qualities, high moral principles, or ideas. Now, the word nadibia is free, right? Now, get this. To do something freely and willingly is the most noble mind. To do something freely and willingly is the most noble mind. Okay? And character. We serve because we want to. We serve because we want to. We don't serve because we're obligated to. That's the difference between a free spirit and a spirit that's in bondage. A spirit that is a slave. And that's why he says noble ruach. Because it is a spirit that freely wants to give. It is a spirit that freely wants to serve. And when we get into the word, I believe it's chesed, mercy, or maybe that's discipline. I get those words mixed up. Maybe not tsar is discipline. But anyway, when we get into mercy, mercy is compassion. Mercy is compassion. And it's mercy in truth that should guide us. So, uphold me, noble ruach. That is a willing, free, freely giving disposition. A freely giving mind. A freely giving character. You serve, you give because you want to. And when you give, and I've heard different stories about people giving lawnmowers, when you let somebody borrow something, never expect it back. And if you do expect it back, don't expect it to come back the same way that you gave it, okay? It'll upset you. It will. When you give willingly and give freely, expecting nothing in return. And I tell you, the one who gives is more ready to receive. Because you can only give, or you can only receive when you've given. Because you ain't got no more room if you're just trying to hold on. So give. Give. And that is a part of compassion. And compassion is the root of it all. It's love. It's love. So, free and willing. It is willing to serve. It's free to serve. So, Proverbs chapter 3. So we talked about all this accumulated dirt, right? We keep talking about this accumulated dirt. We have all developed this idea, this identity, these ideas, these thoughts, this perception, and we'll talk about that as we continue on. We've got this way that we view the world. We've got this way that we view the world. And most of the way that we view the world has been adopted. And what I mean by that is it's been given to you, and you believed it, and now you're telling everybody else about it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be true. Okay? A lot of what we understand about the world is taught to us through the news. All right? And is all that true? No, you don't know what's happening on the sidelines. They only tell you what they want you to know. For a reason. For a reason. Proverbs 3. I love this as I was reading it this morning, because when David is sitting Solomon down here, and Solomon is writing this down, things that David has taught him, he's just talking about like a father to a son. Okay? Too often we relate this Torah that he's talking about in verse 1 of chapter 3, the book of Proverbs, to the Torah of God. He's talking to him son to father, father to son. And what he is saying is don't forsake the direction I'm giving you. Okay? These are the things that I have learned. These are the things God has taught me. These are the things that I have learned, and I'm going to share them with you. And I can tell you that because of what he says after this. So my son, do not forget my Torah. Do not forget my way, my direction. Do not forget the understanding. And let your heart watch over my commands. Notice he does not say let your mind watch over it. And we'll get to that a little bit more as we continue through these verses. For lengths of day and long life and peace they add unto you. So when you listen to what I'm telling you, son, it will help direct you in your life, son. It will add peace, long life, and length of days to your life. If you just listen to what I'm saying. What is he telling him? It says it right after this. Let not kindness and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Okay? So he says, this is what I'm teaching you. This is the direction I want you to go. He said, let kindness and truth be bound around your neck. and be written on the table of your heart. Notice, he does not say, write it on the table of your mind. We've got a lot of head knowledge, right? A lot of head knowledge of what's written. But when you love truth and mercy, it becomes a part of your being. It becomes a part of your heart. Notice, heart, the center, love, compassion, and truth. Write it on the table of your heart. What is the, wrap it around your neck, what does that mean? Bind it around your neck. So when you talk about neck, the neck is the voice box, okay? And then that's where words are produced. So whenever you speak, what are you going to speak? Mercy and truth. What is mercy? Mercy is compassion. And sometimes we lack it. You know why? Because it's all up here. Compassion is not up here. Compassion is here. So that's why he said, don't write it up here. Write it in here. That's awesome. I love that. He said, write it on the tablet of your heart. The heart is the center. It is love. It is reflection. It is memory. It is to care for. It is to be kind. How kind are we when we tell somebody the truth? And the truth might be, I want to be angry, right? I want to be angry with this person. I want to tell this person how much that I know and how much that I'm right. And there's no compassion that goes with that, okay? Because you haven't written the truth on your heart. It's been written up here. And now you're just trying to prove to everybody that you're right. Because there's no compassion. There's reflection, memory, care, okay? And you talk about it, and I believe there's a very important reason why it is a son talking to the father and the father talking to the son, because there's care there. There's compassion there. Son, I want you to be successful. I love you. Listen to me. There is a love there. Okay? So, length of days they add to you. What is he teaching him? Don't forget my direction. And this is what I want you to not forget. Let kindness and truth be written on the tablet of your heart and bound around your neck. So when you speak, it better be kind and true. Okay? And talking about that being angry with people, well, I can't do that. If you speak the truth too often, when you speak the truth, sometimes it sounds harsh, right? The truth can be harsh, right? And when it comes across, it might not sound very loving. So you might think that you're a harsh person and you just want to be true because you don't like it. Okay? But the reality is that's how you identify. You think that you're an angry person, or you think that the truth is hurtful. And when you develop, you will be able to develop with both mercy and truth. Because this is how you identify. You need to identify as a new person. Somebody who has kindness and truth. Hope that makes sense. You think that you're an angry person, or you want to beat everybody over the head with truth, or you've got to tell everybody the truth no matter what, whether it breaks up relationships or whatever you want to do. That's how you identify. If you want to change, you're going to have to change into a person that loves mercy and both truth. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Hopefully. But notice he says, write it on your heart. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart. When you do this, when you bind mercy and truth, kindness, tenderness, compassion, and truth. What is truth? You bind it around your neck and you write it on the tablet of your heart. Then you will find favor and good insight in the eyes of Elohim and man. When you write it on your heart. The word insight means immediate and clean understanding. It is a result of realization. It is reality. I do like what Gandhi said. He said, my commitment is to truth and not consistency. My commitment is to truth and not to consistency. You are striving for truth. You want to know truth better. And I like the way that it's said, and we're shifting that perspective, is I don't have a desire to be completely right. I have a desire to be less wrong. Okay, and that'll shift your perspective, because we have this idea of right. God is right. God is absolute. A lot of times we are affected by our environment. You're affected by the people you're around. You're affected by what's going on in your town, what's going on in your house. You're affected by all of it, and it shifts what you believe is true. God is absolute. Over a period of time, you hung out with your parents, you developed what they developed, and then you went on and you developed your own truth. You were affected by your environment. All of us were. Okay? I'm not hating on anybody's parents. I'm not hating on my parents. I just want y'all to know that. Everybody has been affected by how they have been raised. And you are holding on to that. You could be. So, he says, you will have good insight when you can write kindness and truth on your heart. In your center. Not in your mind. Write it on your heart. There has to be a love for compassion. There has to be a love for the truth. And you can't love one above the other. He says and, because they are one. And we've talked about that before. If you hit somebody only with the truth, you're going to turn them away. Okay? And if you're too compassionate, you're going to be a pushover. Right? So you have to be able to mend them. Mend them. Compassionate truth. What does he say? When you put, and I'm going to repeat it. When you put compassion and truth on your heart, it will give you favor and good insight in the eyes of Elohim and in the eyes of man. Favor and good insight. Favor is grace. It will give you grace when you write truth and you write compassion on your heart. You will get grace from God. And you will get grace from men. And you will find good insight. So insight is immediate and clear understanding. The result of realization, it is reality. My commitment is to truth, not consistency. People are holding on to tradition because for the sake of tradition. You taught me this, I listened to it, whatever it is, they're holding on to tradition for the sake of tradition. And like we said before, when it comes to, and we're only saying this because we relate to it, when it comes to Christianity, it tells you that you are just like Christ. It tells you that you are a Christian. Therefore, you identify with Christ. You identify as a Christian. Therefore, to denounce that is to denounce your identity. And to denounce your identity and denounce yourself is just something that's so hard for people to do. But in order to do that, in order to get rid of your perspective and to grow and see reality, you have got to be able to let it go. If you want to see the reality, you've got to look through a different lens. Insight. Insight. Insight is immediate and clear understanding, result in realization and reality. We're going somewhere with this. So, write mercy and truth on your heart, not on your mind. It's compassion and truth. When you write it on your heart, it becomes a part of your being. But if you have truth up here, you'll beat everybody up with it. If it's just up here and it's not in here and you don't love it, you're going to beat everybody up with it. It's going to become a tool and a weapon that you use to destroy each other. Mercy and truth becomes a part of your being when you write it on your heart. We have a head knowledge, but do we have a heart knowledge? Right? And there's a beautiful thing, and this is the way that God revealed it to me. Men think logically, right? So when you think logically, you're thinking with your head. Women think with their heart. And prove it to you. If you have a woman's attention, you've got all of her. Every bit of her. Because she's listening to you with her heart and not with her head. I just got some fireworks going off. So, there's a reason that I say that, because Proverbs 8, wisdom is a woman. Too often, we're listening with our head and not with our heart. So you got to make a transition. If you got a woman's attention, I'm telling you, you got every bit of her being. She gives it all. That's why when she's upset and something doesn't go right, she'll go in the closet or she'll go in the room and she'll cry. Because she gave it her all. We have a head knowledge and not a heart knowledge. Notice, continuing on, he says, you shall find favor and good insight. So that insight is realization, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Thus finding favor and good insight, verse 4, in the eyes of Elohim and man. Trust in Hashem with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. So all your paths is a present idea. Okay? All your paths. The path that you are on right now, when you acknowledge God, you acknowledge him in all your ways, you make mercy and truth written on your heart, he will direct you everywhere you go. Okay? And I can promise you, and I promise you, from the very beginning of where you have started, you have evolved, you have changed, you have been labeled this, you have been labeled that, and he has never let you go. And he's not going to. And you're going to evolve, and you're going to change, and he's always going to be there. And you're going to mess up, and you're going to get things right, and he's not going to leave. You know why? Because you're devoted. Because you want to know. You want that relationship. So, he says, lean not on your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. That is your daily walk. Your own understanding is what? It is your perspective. The way that you see things. Okay? And the way that we see things are governed by our past experiences. It's governed by the way you were raised. It's governed by your environment. And he said, when you look, don't look after your own perspective. Your own understanding is your own perspective. You're not seeing things for what they really are. You're seeing them for what you want them to be. Or you're seeing them because you have created. We have a title for this message, the title for this message, and we have all done it, and it's fine if you don't want to accept it yet. We have all created our own delusion. We have an idea of what we see and what we want to see, and it might not be that way. And he says, don't lean on what you see. Don't lean on your own perspective. Trust in God. Are we getting it? Is it making sense? What we know has been covered up. Okay? What we truly know within inside, the truth of what is within us, has been covered up. There's something that is within you that has been muddied. And we said it numerous times when we were coming out of Christianity and coming out of being messianic. And the scripture says what it says, but people take doctrine over what's written. Same thing. And as we continue on through this message, I'm tired of the explaining it away. I'm tired of the excuses. And you can take that two ways. You can take it as I'm tired of the excuses, I'm tired of the doing it away, or you can think of it in a lighter sense that we're all just trying to figure it out. Every single one of us, we're just trying to figure it out. And we're trying, this is it, to make it make sense. We're trying to make it make sense to us. We want that insight. We want the reality. We want the immediate reality. And in order for you to do that, you have got to forsake your own way, the perspective that you have, and see it for what it is. But we muddy it. We make it say something that it doesn't say. We've all done it. We have all done it. Every single one of us. So don't lean on your own understanding. Don't lean on your perspective. Don't lean on your view. Insight goes beyond what can be seen. I'm tired of the excuses and explaining things away. I told y'all about that verse. So the verse is actually in Exodus 6. I believe it's Exodus 6:3, where God, Hashem, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, comes to Moses and says, I had not revealed my name, this name, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, to your forefathers before now. Okay? Plainly says that. I might have paraphrased it, but you go back and he did. And then somebody came on Facebook here recently and said, well, you must not have logic. You just don't know what it means. It means that he didn't show him and do the great miracles that he did in Egypt. Read it plainly. and stop adding to it. Stop making excuses for it. Stop trying to make it go away. You can't make it go away. It's there. You can't make it go away. You can't make the excuses for it. It's there. It says, I did not reveal my name. And it literally says, Yod He Vav He. And it, go back, and he revealed his name. They called him by that name. You can't muddy that. Just take it for what it is. Take it for the reality. And like we said before, and I never thought that I would say this, it's a book written by men, okay? You fail. I fail. We all fail, right? It's a book written by men. I know we want to say that it's divinely inspired, but that divinely inspired that you get comes from the New Testament. And all scripture is God-breathed. That is in 2 Timothy, I believe it's 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 14. So all the scripture is God-breathed. You get that out of the New Testament. They are writing by what they knew. They are writing by the way that they understood. So when you see these visions, they're explaining it in a way with things that they were used to. Yep. I see this great wheel. I see this thing. It's got the head of a tiger and the head of a... They're seeing it by things that they understood. Okay? We don't get it now because we weren't living back then. They are saying things. They are writing things that made sense to them. And if they were to read that, or if we were back then and we read it back then, it would make more sense to us. But you know what's happened? We've got it, and the book has been passed on, and now we're trying to read it from the way we know. And you can't. You can't. That's why I like looking at the definitions, and I like looking at different scriptures and different writings, because that's the reality of it. They're writing in a time period, and we're trying to understand it. We're trying to make it make sense. There are things that make sense for us. Sin is corruption. Sin is pollution. Sin is sowing discord in your life, okay? And once that happens, something's got to bring harmony back. You've messed up. You've messed up. David messed up. Something had to bring back harmony. Was he punished? Absolutely. Did it affect his children? Sure did. That's the attempt to bring harmony back into the world. A lot of bad stuff going on, right? And God is wanting to bring back harmony. And sin continues to throw you off the path of bringing harmony back into the world. So, what do we say? Insight. It goes beyond what can be seen. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of the explaining it away. What's the reality? Just read it. But then what will happen is they read it and then they go, but this is what it means. But this is what it means. And that's where we say people are taking doctrine over what's written. Stop explaining it away. Just read it. Just read it for what it says. And then make a decision. So, and I'm sure we all feel this way. And I'm sure when I say this, it's going to resonate. Give me truth. Give me reality. I want insight. We try to rationalize. We try to make it reasonable. That is the thinking mind. The thinking mind tries to make everything rational. Tries to make it make sense. Okay? And your mind is equipped to do that. Your mind tries to make sense of traumatic events. It does that. So what does it do? It talks to you. It tries to calm you down. It tries to rev you up. It tries to get you safe. And too often we have confused fear for safety. Because why? Because you're afraid, because your brain is trying to tell you you need safety. So we connect fear with safety, and you're not safe. You're afraid, you're anxious, you're worried. Fear is not safety. Fear is not security. Security is security. So, trying to rationalize, trying to become reasonable, trying to make it make sense, that is the thinking mind. And we have accumulated and collected a series of bad thoughts and ideas. And I just want to tell you all the absolute truth. So this is why Baptists see what is written as Baptist. This is why Pentecostals see what is written as a Pentecostal. And you know what the crazy thing is? They're all considered to be Christians. And this is why you have Jews who are separated also. They have different labels too. Orthodox. Well, they're not Orthodox. They're this and they're that and they're this. And they're all reading the same book. And they all got different ideas of what it says. So, we're all reading it through our eyes. Your eyes see it. Your mind gets a perception of what it's saying, and then you believe it. It's a perception. It is a perspective. So, in order to do that, you got to get rid. And I know it's a scary thing to say that, and I want to say it with the utmost respect. Your judgment. Okay? You have a very judging heart. We have a judging heart. We have a judging mind. And you want me to prove it to you? Do something that you think is stupid. And what do you say to yourself? Well, that's stupid. Right? Mess up on something. What do you say? Well, I'm dumb. That's stupid. You're already judging yourself. You've got a very judgmental mind. And I tell you, man, I'm telling y'all, it comes from religion. I know this one guy, and I'm listening to him. He's a comedian. And he's got this song. It's got cuss words in it. But it's got a really good point. And he says, are you feeling nervous? Are you having fun? It's almost over. It's just begun. He goes, do not be anxious. Look in my eyes. Come on in. The water's fine, is what he says. And what that is he was raised in religion. And now he doesn't know if what he is doing is right or wrong. And what had happened was he was a comedian and he got up and he would do these shows. And then all of a sudden, before he would do these shows, he'd have panic attacks. Is what I'm doing right? Is what I'm doing wrong? I don't know anymore. And it creates an anxious mind. I don't know if I'm doing right. I don't know if I'm doing wrong. What am I doing? And it just puts you in this stupor of anxiety. And then finally, he got better through mental health. And then he tried to do comedy again and couldn't. He got up there. He said, I thought I could do it again. You know what happened? Are you feeling nervous? Are you having fun? He didn't know what to think. We have developed this anxious mind because we don't know, and like I said last time, we don't know if we're pleasing God or not, if we're making God happy. And all that stems from our parents. Are we making our parents happy? Which is something that every juvenile, every toddler, every kid wants to do. No one wants to disappoint their parents. And then we connected all that to God. So, this is why Baptists see what is written as Baptists. We see through our own understanding. We see through our perspective. And you gotta see it this way to be a member and to be a part of the group. And that's why anybody who sees it differently is kicked out, ostracized. You know what? We've got to push you away. And usually what happens, and you see it happening a lot in Christianity, people are leaving the church. Why? Why? Because they know it's not true. They know there's something up. Either they're reading it and seeing something different, and they're leaving, or they just don't believe it at all. And it's happening. So, we see through our understanding, we see through our perspective, what we have accumulated over time. And what we have accumulated, I'm telling y'all, can be dirt. This has created an illusion. The thoughts, the ideas, the judgment, the perspective, as we see it. This has created our delusion, and we have all been deluded. This is our illusion. And what do? We make up excuses for it. We explain it away. God is absolute. God is everything. God is all. God is right. And we see things relatively. We see it as we're affected by our family. We see it as we're affected by our friends. We see it as we're affected by our company, by our environment. Everything affects us. God is absolute. Too often we see things relatively, how it's in relation to us. And in order to stop that, You got to get rid of the perspective, and you got to get rid of the judgment. If you want to see reality for what it is, just be open. And as we continue on, God is so good. Listening is an art. Listening is an art. It takes time. It takes practice. It is beautiful. But we don't listen. We don't listen. You know why? You talk to somebody who's different than you are, and you've already judged them. You've already called them different. You've already got the judgment. When you look at somebody, do you see you? And the same thing in marriage. If you do something for yourself, you're doing it for your family. You're doing it for your wife. If you hurt your wife, you hurt yourself. So you've got to see yourself in your wife. You take care of your wife, what are you doing? Taking care of yourself. Because you're cultivating love. Okay, I want to give you this too. As you have David that was talking to Solomon, right? You cannot make and change any child. Any child, every child has a certain disposition. Every child has a certain disposition, a mind and a character, right? You cannot change that. And you know what? We get aggravated. And you know where anger comes from? The fact that you have no control over what's going on. So you get angry with it. Remember I said that if you got a problem with somebody, it's not them that has the problem, it's you that has the problem. It's you that has the problem. So every kid has a disposition. Do you know what you need to do when you're raising your children? When you're dealing with people? It's just like a plant. Can't make the plant grow, right? No matter how much you water it, give it the right soil, give it the right sunlight, can you make it grow? No, that's God's responsibility. It is God's responsibility to make it grow, and you can't do it no matter how much you try. Your responsibility is to cultivate an environment of love. Give them enough sunlight, give them enough water, give them enough ground, but you can't make them grow. Everything that you do, cultivate it with love. And you know what? You'll watch them grow. If it's God's plan, you can't change them, only God can. So you're trying to do an impossible task by thinking I can force you to do it. God is absolute. We are relative. We see a lot of things in relation to our environment. When you were in, thank God for my brother. Okay, I'll say that. You know why? Because when we were Baptist, he was the only one that studied. He studied like he loved it, and he did. He loved it. He loved the truth. And then he said, this is a lie, this is a lie, that is a lie. And you know what? He got us out of where we were. I'm thankful. So, he was bold enough to challenge people's reality. He was bold enough to challenge people's perspective of what they believed was true and who they thought God was. And he was bold enough and had enough courage to do that. So I'm thankful for my brother. So, you want to see reality? Get rid of your judgment. And the only way, and I'm telling you, the key to unlock all this is awareness. If you are unaware, you're in a stupor. You're in a stupor. If you are unaware of what's going on, you're in a stupor. If you are taken away in your thoughts, and your thoughts take you away, and they're leading you wherever they go, because you know what? One thought leads to this, leads to that, leads to before you know, you're in a hole, right? Being caught in your thoughts is not a way to live. Being able to observe your thoughts and be aware is the way to live. And if you can't catch yourself doing something, you're unaware. Like I was talking to somebody this week, and he was telling me about a message, because I'll listen to anybody. He was telling me about a message that he did about trust in God. Trust in God. Don't let that worry you. Trust in God. He'll be there. And then something happened to him, and he started to worry. And you know what happens? Is we teach a message, And it's happened to me numerous times. You teach a message, and then sometime during that week, the same thing that you told them not to do happens to you, and you find yourself doing it, right? And then what do? I feel so guilty. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I told them that. Why do you look down on yourself? That is not the scope. When you see it, you've taught it, it's truth, be aware. You're no different than them. You're no different than the people you're talking to. You're no better than the people that you're talking to. If it happens, just be aware and say, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Anger comes up. Oh, there it is. Before you get attached to it and it takes you off somewhere that you don't want to be. Sadness. Oh, there it is. We let it all control us. When we get rid of judgment and perspective, we see reality. Reality. It is not what you want it to be. It is not what you have created. That's why the message is called delusion. We have created an illusion. We are deluded by the way we want to see things. And then we can't see what the truth is. We can't see reality. We can't see God. We're not listening. When we get rid of judgment and perspective, we see reality as it is. The world clearly, and not how we want it to be. Listening is an art. Are we listening with the rational, reasonable thinking mind, or are we listening with an open heart? And when you're talking to somebody, like I said, get rid of that judgment, get rid of that perspective. Are you listening to them with judgment? Oh, you're wrong. That's stupid. You're wrong. Are you thinking about them and judging them because you've already shut the conversation off if that's how you're thinking? Listening is an art. Are we listening with a rational, reasonable thinking mind, or are we listening with our heart open in love? Because what you really have to consider is they are you. They are you. You are no different than them. You are no better than them. They were in the same place 9 times out of 10. The person that you're talking to, they were in the same place that you were 10 years ago. They're no different than you. So stop the judging. If you think I've already got the truth and you think that you've got it right, you've got it all wrong. You've got it all wrong. Because God is absolute. What you know now is relative to you. Are you listening with your heart? Or are you listening with your rational thinking mind? Are you trying to explain everything away? That's not what it says. That's what it says. That's what it says. But we try to make it make sense, and we try to make it fit our perspective. We mold it and we fashion it in a way that fits us. So, lean not on your own understanding. I love verse 6. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. That is your daily walk. That is today. Okay? You have truth today. That's going to serve you. You do. And there are things that I used to know that served me. It kept me from doing a lot of stuff. It did. It kept me from being silly, foolish. It kept me from doing those things. Stuff that potentially could have caused discord and chaos and broken up the harmony. Isaiah 35, you have truth today. Tomorrow, you're going to have truth. The thing is, we hold on more to consistency than we do the truth. And I tell you, holding on to consistency hasn't got you where you are today. Trying to hold on to the truth has got you where you are today. Is that making sense? We're not holding on to that doctrine. We're holding on to what's real, what's reality. And we'll give you something as we continue on. Isaiah 35. I don't care if the message goes on 5 hours. And I don't care if anybody listens to it. Just don't care. If you are, great. Hopefully you get something out of it. So, I turned to Isaiah 50, Isaiah 30, 35. And I saw another video. I'll tell you this too, about people that just don't know, people that don't study, people that don't understand, You had somebody who was trying to go over and convert Jews to Christianity, and they read Isaiah 53. And he said, is this a New Testament teaching or is this an Old Testament teaching? They don't even know their own verses. They don't even know their own scripture. They don't know what's there. So what do they say? Well, that's a New Testament doctrine. That's a New Testament teaching, Isaiah 53. And they go, no, that's Isaiah 53. But if you don't know that Isaiah is about the suffering servant, it's about the elect, it's about the servant, it's about Jacob, it's about Isaiah, or it's about Israel, Jacob and Israel, you have no idea. It literally says that verses before. But if you don't know, you don't know, and anybody can be deceived. So all that is clickbait. All that is trying to get people deceived and create a delusion. Because if you don't know, anybody can lead you astray. Anybody can do anything. So what's your responsibility? It's not to know all. It's just to learn. You're going to learn more. You're going to learn more tomorrow. You're going to learn more the day after that. You're going to learn all kinds of stuff this week. Right? Isaiah 35 and verse 1. Let the wilderness, I love this. Let the wilderness and the dry place be glad for them. And let the desert rejoice and blossom as the rose. It blossoms much and rejoices, even with joy and singing. The esteem of Lebanon shall be given to it, the excellence of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the esteem of Hashem, the existing one, the excellency of our Elohim. Strengthen the weak hands and make firm the weak knees. Say to those who are of an anxious heart, be strong, do not fear. See, your Elohim comes with vengeance, with the recompense of Elohim. He is coming to save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf be opened. Okay, I do like this quote from the New Testament. He says, those that say they see are the ones that are blind. Okay, those that say they see are the ones that are blind. The religious are the ones that are blind. The ones who say I see, and the ones who say that I know. Okay, because they have developed this doctrine. They have developed a doctrine around it. And they have not taken the source of what is written, but rather the doctrine of what has been taught in their assembly. And therefore they say, I see, but they are blind. And he says, the eyes of the blind shall be opened and the ears of the deaf. So, we have covered, and I want to promise you this, and this is truth. We have covered our hearts with the thought of our minds. All the thoughts that come through, they become a part of us. They go to our heart. We start to feel them, we start to believe them, and then they become true. We create unrealistic scenarios. Everybody does it. Every single person does it. You know why? Because you're anxious of what can happen. And you think about all the bad things that can happen, and you're creating unrealistic scenarios that potentially will never happen, right? You know why? Because this is going here. You're thinking thoughts, and you put them in your heart, and they become real to you. And you have created another illusion. I got stars now. And you've created more, more fireworks. Okay, you have created another illusion. So, we have covered our hearts with the thought of our minds. Want me to prove it to you? Have you ever had a broken heart? What happens after you have a broken heart? It gets calloused. You know why? Because you start thinking all these thoughts and you go, I'm never going to get hurt again. I'll never do that again. And your heart gets calloused and your heart gets closed. And you know what's happening? You're taking your past and your past experience with one person, and you're letting it govern the rest of your life. And nobody is the same. Everybody is different. It took me a while to figure that out. You are holding your past over people's heads, and it's affecting the rest of your life because of your broken heart. And you've calloused it over because of your mind. You're telling it all these things. I'll never do that again. I'm not good enough. It'll never work out. This is everything that I've been through before, and I'm going to continue to do this, and I'm just stuck in this cycle. You're stuck in the cycle as long as you are unaware. And that's no different than all those thoughts that I'm talking about that just take you down the road. You are not those thoughts. And you can change the way you think at any point in time. You just have to be aware. And the more aware that you get, and the more that you see the thinking mind, remember we're the only creatures that can think about thinking. We think that we're thinking, we're the only ones that can think about it, right? We're aware. We have an awareness. But the more that you let your thoughts take you down and you are unaware of what's going on, the more asleep that you'll be. We're on a dream state because we're so distracted. You let things take you off. Separate yourself from that. Realize that the way that you're thinking now potentially could be preventing you from moving forward, okay? And what you're doing is you're holding past experiences over potentially good people's heads. You had a bad experience, and now what have you done? You've calloused your heart. You've calloused your broken heart, and you'll say, I'll never open it again because I'm afraid of getting hurt. You know what? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. People in your life that you love are going to hurt you. You've got to realize who's worth it. Nobody is perfect. Nobody can be perfect for you. You can't even be perfect for yourself. Why are you holding them to that standard? What did we say you're supposed to write on your heart? Compassion and truth. Our judgment and perspective have blinded the eye. It has closed the heart. I want this free spirit. Clear the mind, open the heart. And this is a time of rejoicing in Isaiah 35. This is a time of redemption. This is the time of the great enlightenment. So, verse 5, then the eyes of the blind shall be opened. I am looking for that. We have seen the world through the lens of our own perspective and our own judgment. But during this time, everyone's going to see reality for what it really is. And there's going to be no more mud. There's going to be no more dirt. And that's why I like when you read Psalms 51, because David had accumulated some dirt and he said, clean me off. He said, clean me off. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf be opened, and the lame shall leap like a deer, and the tongue of the dumb sing, because waters shall burst forth in the wilderness, and streams in the desert, and the parched ground shall become a pool in the thirsty land, springs of water in the home of the jackals, where each lay grass with reeds and rushes, and there shall be a highway and a way by which is called the way of set apartness, the way of holiness. The unclean does not pass over it. There will be no more pollution. It will be harmony in the earth. But it is for those who walk the way and not as a wandering fool. No lion is there, nor any ravenous beast go up to it. It is not found there, but the redeemed shall walk there. And the ransomed of the existing one, the all in all, shall return and enter Zion with singing, with everlasting joy in the heads, and they shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. Clear the mind and open the heart. I am the one getting in the way. I'm the one getting in the way. It's my thoughts that cloud my mind. It's prohibiting me from seeing reality and ultimately hearing God. Listening is an art. The excuses, the explaining it away, the truth is, this is what's written, and we've all done it. Yeah, but. Yeah, but. That's not what it says. It actually says this. This is what it means. Tired of it. The excuses, the explaining it away. I just want the truth. And like I said, we've come through, and I think this resonates with all of us. I want the truth. I want the reality. I don't want it for what I want it to be. I want it for what it is. Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16. Before destruction is pride, and before a fall a haughty spirit. But better to be lowly in spirit with the poor than to divide the spoil with the proud. He who acts wisely concerning the word finds good, and blessed is he who trusts in Hashem. That is that leaning on him, not my own perspective, wanting to find God, wanting to know God, the devotion to God that I have. He is going to give me truth today that straightens my path. I'm in a road, I'm diverged in a wood, I don't know which one to travel. He's going to give me that time when I get to that place, which way I should go. And that's only when you put compassion and truth in your heart. It's not here, it's here. So, this is what he gave me in Proverbs 16:18. The proud have a higher way to fall. So the proud have higher to fall when they have been found at fault. So if you're proud and you're lifted up and you're heady and you're high-minded and you find out that it's wrong, it hurts. It hurts. It hurts a lot. You know why? Because they're way up here and they fall way down here. And that's why the fall hurts. That's why he says to be humble, because you're lower to the ground. You ain't got to fall so far. When you're humble, you're lower to the ground. You don't have so far to fall. So when you know that you're wrong, you're like, okay, so it is. Let it be. The fall hurts the proud worse. God consciousness. God awareness. Seeing what God sees. Insight goes beyond what we see. You've got to remember, and this is everybody that you're dealing with, and we're all guilty, whether you say that you are or not. Everyone is right. Everyone is right. You think that you're right. Think you got it right. Everyone is right. Great is the desire to be right. No one can be proved wrong. All you can do is shift somebody's perspective. Because you know, ultimately, what we want to do, we want to figure it out for ourselves. I figure that. Eureka, right? That eureka moment, that insight. Because we resist. What do? If somebody even tells you something about yourself you're not ready to agree with, you come up with excuses. You come up with excuses. You come up with reasons why. You explain it away. Just say, and it is. So be it. We're complicated people. We can be complicated. It can be very simple. So, everyone is right. And you can't say you don't want to be right. Great is the desire to be right. No one can prove us wrong. And then we can only shift our perspective or someone else's perspective. We see what we want to see. You see what you want to see. And if you're not ready to see it, you won't see it. You're not ready. Get rid of the accumulated judgment. And it can be summed up as your past. Your past. You are not that person. We relive these things and we relive these things and we think we're this person and it has affected us greatly, but you're not there. You're not there. You're brand new. And I love it. The past is dying. How are you going to drag that with you? You have this eternal present and there are always new opportunities that are being birthed every single day. You're living a life now that is not like the life you used to live. Bottom line, you're not there. You're not there. Get rid of the accumulated judgments, and you've got to be aware. If you see somebody and you've already got this perspective of them, you're already in a bad loop. You don't want to talk to them, you're not going to listen. Get rid of the accumulated judgments. We have collected the dirt. Get rid of the personalized perspective. Are you ready for a hard truth? Okay. Everyone's idea of God is different. Everyone's idea of God is different. Even within the same community. We just talked about that. Even within the same community. You have Christians that are separated out and they all have this idea of God and they're all different. And then you have the Jews and you have the Muslims and you have everybody. Hindu, whatever. So everyone has an idea of God and everyone's is different. They are all not the same. Not one person believes the same thing about God that the person next to them does. Even people that are in relationships. think that there's different variances about who God is. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because we're all individuals. Every single one of us. We all have a thinking mind. So everyone's idea of God is different, even within the same community, even within this group. Everyone that's watching Facebook. So, I'll say this one more time. Everyone's idea of God is different, even within the same community, but there's some things that we can agree on. He is mercy and truth, right? He is mercy and truth while being personal to you. That's what I wanted to give you, okay? You can agree that he has been merciful and truthful with you. He is right. He is absolute. There are attributes about God that we can agree on, but nevertheless, he is different to you. He has handled your life differently than he has handled my life, because all of our lives are different. You can't expect a group to get into a room together and you all agree on everything. And usually, if it is a group that agrees on one thing, it's just because it's a doctrinal statement. Right? How many times did you hear amens when they talked about the elect? Because they agreed on a doctrinal statement. But there are still things that they don't agree on. And there's still things that they think differently about. Because you're human. I love this thought. On your way to divinity, on your way to the divine attributes of God, don't forget that you're human. You are a human. You have feelings. You have emotions. Like we were telling that same person that was telling us about that message, and he goes, well, I'm upset because I did the same thing. Be aware. Be aware. Be aware. You've got to be aware of what's going on. You are no different than anybody else. You are human. Be aware. Whenever God created us, he created us both with the dust and with the spirit. So there's an aspect of godliness within you, and there's an aspect of the earth within you. And you are constantly trying to balance them both. Instead of identifying yourself with your past, that person you used to be, your ego, identify yourself with the same thing that brings us all together, which is our soul. Which is our soul. See reality and see truth. Stop with the excuses and trying to explain it away. Why are we doing that? Everyone does it because you're afraid. You're afraid. Nobody really wants the truth. What does he say? You can't handle the truth. It was a tough truth, too. That was a tough truth on that one. Yeah. But nevertheless, it was the truth. Hopefully that was a good impression. But anyway, so stop with the excuses and trying to explain it all away. The reason we don't want the truth is because we're afraid. And we have identified ourselves with something. Truth separates. It does. But that's why we're afraid. We're afraid of what people think. I want you to get this. And when you have that I am in you, I am one with God. When you have that I am in you, God is God no matter what. Period. No matter what you call him, no matter what he is, no matter where he is God. Can't change that. So get rid of the delusions. See reality for what it is. Shabbat shalom. Have a blessed day.